Welcome back to the post-race show for Auto Club. I'm Casey Campbell, and that, of course, is Nathan Salmon from the Podium Finish. How's it going?
It's going. I'm excited that we got a great show today out in Auto Club.
Yeah, we did get a good show today at Auto Club. How about that? Lots of things to discuss. Let's talk about this new car first off. How do you think that? How do you think the car performed today?
Overall, pretty good. I think in terms of package and the way the car acted, I think I'd give that like a 9 out of 10 for sure. Um, I'm still pretty concerned about the whole tire wheel situation, where obviously cars or pit crews are having trouble getting the cars or the wheels tight onto the cars. I think Todd Gilliland had a loose wheel today. And obviously there's no sign of when it's going to get loose. Like when it's loose, it's not on the car anymore. So the wheel's loose on the track. So we've had 3 of those now in 2 races, which is a little concerning. I don't think it's really anyone's fault, but it's certainly an issue that NASCAR has to get resolved. And then of course, when guys spin, a lot of times when they get flat tires after they spin, and when all 4 get flat, or typically when more than 2 get flat, the car gets stuck and you can't drive anywhere, and you have to get towed back to the pits, and you're losing 3 to 4 laps. And that really that can't happen. Like if you spin and have to go to pit road, you should lose 1 lap at most. So and don't hit anything. So that's another thing they're gonna get figured out. I mean, that bit spinning out ruined Christopher Bell's day. Spinning out put Kyle Busch 3 laps down. Like, I don't know, that can't happen. They're gonna have to find a solution to that. But otherwise, I'm pretty satisfied with how the car raced today.
Yeah, and obviously NASCAR is working on it, and all of us were talking about it during the race today. So really kind of just we'll just have to see how this all works out. But obviously the system is going to be working out. But lots of things happened in this race besides that. I mean, there were a lot of cautions. I think we broke the record for cautions today. I think we tied the record. We didn't break it. I don't think. I'll have to check on
Do we have 13 or do we have 12?
We might. I know we got 12. I just don't know if we got 13.
The record was 12. I know that. I just had the caution report up. I just lost it. Dang it. But
Well, Nathan checks on that. Let's obviously Kyle Larson was the winner today. That shouldn't surprise anybody. But what did surprise some people was who was up there at the front of the field. There were a lot of contenders up in the front. We saw Tyler Reddick up there. We saw Eric Jones up there. We'll get into those guys in just a minute. But overall, what's it like to see more of a variety of cars running up towards the front and leading?
yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, one of the things that NASCAR tried to do with this new car is, I guess, narrow the competitive balance, if you will, to make it so the really really good cars aren't like as good, and the really really bad cars aren't as bad, in a sense, if that kind of excuse me, if that makes sense. So obviously we saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. run top 10 all day. Eric Jones, you could probably argue he had the second best car all day to Tyler Reddick. Daniel Suarez, his car came alive late. Austin Dillon, his car came alive late. And I know I'm missing some of those other guys. I mean, Kevin Harvick, I know he's kind of a typical front runner, but he ran 25th all day. Ended up with a top 10. So yeah, I mean, you can definitely see how how the competitive balance has changed. And I just finished recording TPF Live with our buddy Rob Tionkson, and I was just telling him that I think one of the takeaways that I have from this race is that come Daytona in August, once that race is said and done, there's going to be some really good drivers and some really good teams that aren't going to make the playoffs because there's so many good cars this year. So I think that's my main takeaway. There's definitely a lot of fun to see, guys like Jones and Stenhouse up there competing for wins.
Let's talk about Eric Jones. Of course, it's good to see the Petty GMS team run up front. I just posted this on Twitter. First top 10 for Eric Jones since he was at JGR. He had to go back to 2020 at the Charlotte Roval. And the first top 5 finish for the 43 team, you have to go back to Daytona of that year, back in 2020 in the summer. So that's a good day for that team, because we all thought the question is what the 43 team was going to be, and we really thought that the future of that team was up in the air at some point last year, until obviously the merger with with the merger with GMS. Of course, Focus Factor coming on board for a majority of races. What do you think the expectation is for that 43 team? Of course, Dave Allen's a new crew chief as well.
Yeah, I think the expectation at this point has to be able to get that 43 either in victory lane or into the playoffs, right? I mean, 43 has shown a lot of speed so far in these first two races, two completely different track types, but two big tracks. Obviously we'll have to see how it drives in these next 2 weeks on on I guess a short track and an intermediate track. But the 43 car definitely has some speed this year. Eric Jones, he's made it to the playoffs before. He's won NASCAR Cup Series races before. He has the talent, and I think you could probably argue that maybe he didn't get a fair shot with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series. Only was given a couple of years, and won twice in 3 years, and that wasn't really enough for them. But I think Eric Jones has the potential to get that car back into victory lane, and he almost did so on Sunday.
Here's another stat for you per J-Ski's own Dustin Albino, who has a big thread of stats that he posts after every Cup, Xfinity, and truck race. He led 6 different times for 18 laps, the most laps the 43 entry has led since Almirola 2012 at Kansas, where he led 69 laps. So that's a big day for that team as well. Also, Austin Dillon finishing second, first top 5 finish since last year's Daytona 500. And Daniel Suarez picked up a top 5 today. He only had one top 5 all season long last year. That was a Bristol Dirt. And now it looks like Trackhouse could be a team to watch as well.
Yeah, kind of a weird day for those two. Like, I remember looking towards the middle of the race, and both of those guys were running mid-pack. I think Suarez was running like 18th or 20th, and Austin Dillon was running like 25th. And I remember thinking to myself, man, Dillon's running 25th, which is kind of surprising, especially because at that point, Tyler Reddick had really dominated the first half of that race. And like, I don't really know what's going on there, but obviously Reddick ended up having his issue blowing that tire. And as more grip was put down on the track, as the sun moved, as temperatures kind of dropped a little bit, in that last stage, Austin Dillon's car really came alive, and he shot to the front and had a chance to win. On that last lap, he kind of had something for Larson there in 3 and 4, just little too late, I guess, for him. But impressive from the way that he was able to get it from like 25th to second there in that amount of time. So a lot of speed for RCR, a lot of speed for Petty GMS. The Chevys were very strong today.
Yeah, the Chevys were very strong today. The Fords were also performing well today as well. We saw Team Penske running up at the front. There were times where the Stewart-Haas cars running up there. Look at Kevin Harvick. Struggled most of that race. He goes and finishes top 10 on the day. Almirola was up there in the front of the field. Cole Custer was up there. Chase Briscoe was up there. So I know it's only been 2 races, but the Fords are strong. We know how good Penske is, but this has been a good run for a couple races for Stewart-Haas.
Yeah, the 3-man Penske cars, like you said, they were strong pretty much all day. The 4 Stewart-Haas cars, none of them could really piece a full race together. Obviously the 10 and the 4 ended up in the top 10, but they kind of fluctuated. They weren't really, running top 10 all day. I mean, Almirola was, running 20th for most of the day. Harvick was running 20th for most of the day. Custer was in the top 10 for a while, and he kind of dropped out. And geez, who else am I missing? Oh, Chase Briscoe. He was running up front for a while. Obviously led, ended up finishing like 14th or 17th or something. But those guys really didn't piece together a full day, but Stewart-Haas still managed 2 top 10s out of it.
Yeah, that's a solid day for that team. Let's I know we've been talking about teams that have been doing good. Also, before we get into some of the bad, let's talk about, this is kind of good and bad. Your thoughts on that Larson Elliott thing? It looks like Tyler Mon came apologized on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this, but took responsibility for what happened between the 9, the 5, and the 22.
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, I think you could kind of tell that had to be just a little mix up with the spotters and everything. I mean, with these new cars, there's kind of different vantage points. I mean, the car's a little bigger. Your blind spots are a little different as a driver, and that's just something that spotters have to learn and recognize. So I don't know if that's something that Mon didn't recognize, if he just kind of got caught up too much with his own car, not really looking at his surroundings. But mistakes happen, unfortunately. Certainly no malicious intent there. But they're teammates, obviously. They've always been on good terms. They'll get over it. It's obviously very early in the season. Elliott has every right to be upset. He went down a lap early, finally had gotten that lap back and had a chance to contend to win that race before that happened. But they'll talk it out. I'm sure they'll be back on good terms by Las Vegas. So definitely disappointing to see, but stuff happens. Like guys make mistakes or whatever, but they'll be fine.
Let's talk about the one thing that kind of didn't stand out. How about Toyota? They just they did not they did not have a good day today. Obviously Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace got caught up in that wreck. Yes, Kurt Busch started off his day bad, finished top 10, a very impressive day for that 45 team. And then Kyle Busch, talk about him. He had an adventurous day with this car and then comes home and finishes 14. He was like multiple laps down.
Yeah, after he spun out early, I think he got trapped 3 laps down or something. I figured, I think he had another issue with his car, and I figured he'd end up going like 5-6 laps down, but fought back, lead lap 13th or 14th or whatever. Kurt Busch, top 10 there. He had gotten lap down early with the inspection failure, gotten back onto the lead lap, speeding penalty, had to work his way all the way through the field again. So definitely surprising top 10 for him there. Denny Hamlin, he had been running in the top 10. He kind of got shuffled out there towards the end. Obviously, like you said, Bubba Wallace, he was running kind of 25th for a while and seemed to find a little bit of speed there in that final stage before kind of collecting that damage and getting kind of sent to the back. Obviously, Christopher Bell, like you said, had a rough day, had some cooling issue or had water issues early and then spun out and blew out all his tires and had to get towed back, and that trapped him a bunch of laps down. But yeah, very eventful day for a lot of the Toyotas. Disappointing. I don't think you can look too far yet. They were pretty strong for the most part at Daytona before getting caught up in some wrecks, but we'll see kind of how they bounce back here in these last 2 races here on the West Coast before we can kind of judge where they're at right now as a manufacturer as a whole with this new car.
Last thing I want to talk about, Tyler Reddick. As I said, led 90 laps today. That was the most that he's led in all of his Cup career, which was 73. And that was the most that an RCR car has led since when Kevin Harvick was there. So that's kind of a disappointment, but it also sends a message to the field about how good how good RCR could be this year and how good that 8 team is going to be this year.
Yeah, RCR was really quick today. I mean, obviously Austin Dillon came alive late. Reddick, you could probably argue he had the car to beat today until that tire issue, which is a very weird situation, kind of a strange place to blow out your tire there, kind of on the entrance to the turn 1. Even before he's really into the corner too, like you're still kind of on the straight part right before he's about to arc in. So very weird spot. Sucks that he kind of ended up, that William Byron got caught up in it. Just a disappointing ordeal. I think Tyler Reddick probably would have gone on to win that race. Really, I mean, Eric Jones was probably the closest to anyone having anything for him. William Byron was very strong as well. Obviously, Kyle Larson, he had a pretty good car, but I think you could probably argue that Larson did not have the fastest car today. So for a while there, I thought Reddick he's gonna walk away with his first Cup Series victory, but stuff happens, unfortunately. That's part of it. Some bad luck is on his side, but I fully expect he'll bounce back. I think this year's finally the year that he'll get back to victory lane, or get to victory lane rather.
Yeah. So yeah, that of course is something that we're definitely going to be watching for sure coming into the fold. Let's talk about this race overall. I know a lot of questions about what Auto Club was going to be like. If it's going to be turned into a short track, it's going to be there. I think we got our answer today. I don't think it's going to happen. And if it does, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, I hope not. That was a lot of fun. I was very pleasantly surprised. I figured that this race would be better than the Gen 6 cars for sure. I mean, the racing couldn't have been any worse with them, but very surprised, very racy for the lead. I mean, a bunch of different lead changes. There were not any green flag pit stops either. Really no long runs. I mean, we were seeing just a lot of, 15, 20 lap runs, which made for action on pit road. Very racy on the restarts. The restarts were a lot of fun. Great crowd, probably one of the best crowds we've ever seen at Auto Club. So definitely very encouraging there. So I hope they don't go to short tracks. I kind of agree that I think maybe NASCAR needs to add a few more short tracks onto the schedule, but I think turning into Auto Club into a short track is not one they should do, and they should be they should keep the 2 mile oval on the West Coast for the time being, especially with how many fans are there today. And I think that this race is going to end up drawing pretty well. I think just because of the trickle down from race to race to race, a lot of fans are going to watch this race today and are going to want to stick around for next week at Las Vegas. So very encouraging day. Obviously, there's some kinks to the next gen car that they got to keep getting worked out, but that's going to happen with the new car. Guys collected a lot of data, short turnaround for getting the cars out to the West Coast for next week, but I'm sure they'll apply that data, find ways for those cars to handle a lot better, and NASCAR will come up with some solutions to some of the flaws with the car right now. But very happy with today's race.
Yeah, today was very good in my and very surprising. We don't know if this I don't know if this could be it. You never know. Obviously it's a good race. How about this? Eric Almirola, top 10 finishes in both races today. Daniel Hemrick, he had quite the day. He comes home in 9th. Chase Briscoe led the most laps in his Cup Series career today with 20. And also, Garrett Smithley picks up his best career finish in 21st today for Rick Ware Racing. And BJ McLeod picks up his best non-super speedway finish in 22nd. Also, that's going to do it for the post-race show. Before we go, though, major broadcasting debut yesterday. How about that?
I did. I called the St. Bonaventure women's basketball game versus George Mason. I had a lot of fun with that. I was a color analyst, so excited to do more ESPN Plus broadcasts in the future, doing some hopefully some more basketball in the winter, but for the meanwhile, hopefully some baseball and softball here this spring.
Stuff for sure. Check that out on ESPN, ESPNplus.com. Of course, you can get it on. Of course, you have to subscribe to it, but yeah, check it all out. So it's good stuff there. Lots of content. All right. Well, we got Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup next week. Congrats to Kyle Larson. Congrats to Cole Custer. How about Scotty Mack taking the IndyCar race today at St. Pete? The IndyCar boys got it done today as well. Obviously, we'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you after Vegas.